Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Orchid Chat with me, William Green, and Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis. Stephen, how's apartment life?
It's it's small. It's different. It's it is what it is, and got all my plants on the back porch.
Apartment life, man. Welcome.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Family, orchids, pets, all crammed into a little space. What could go wrong?
Everyone's going to get along great, I'm sure.
Totally. What's up with
Uh,
you? What's new?
well, I have installed a self-watering system for my grow tent. And the reason is not so that I don't have to water. The reason is so I can leave for extended periods of time, as I do from time to time, whether it's to visit family or take a trip somewhere, whatever, and relieve my wonderful, wonderful plant sitter from having to come, every other day or whatever. So it's not a substitute for me watering. It's just a kind of a nice little buffer there for periods of time that I'm going to be gone. For example, starting next week, I'm going to be out for 3 weeks. And, you know, it's a lot to ask somebody to come and watch your collection, during that long of a time. So, and I also, I've got a friend, I've got to give a shout out to Joe. My friend Joe has just been instrumental in helping me figure this out. He has an 8 by 8 by 8 foot grow cube in one of the rooms of his house. Basically, it's the whole room.
Wow.
And it's completely automated. And most of his plants are mounted, so it works pretty well because everything dries out pretty much exactly at the same time. So you can just spray, whatever. And so mine's not exactly that easy. I've got things potted in different ways. I've got some things mounted, some things in rocks, some things in bark. But I'm experimenting. I've got about 5 days left to figure it out so that it gets wet enough that everything gets an acceptable amount of water, but then it also dries out pretty much completely in 24 hours, and the cycle can repeat.
And so I watched your video this past weekend where you sort of presented it to the world that you have this Mist King,
Yeah.
and it looks like you got the deluxe setup. I used to have one as well
Oh,
for
cool.
terrarium, and I remember going through that process of buying and getting the little automated thing and getting it all set up, and then having the bucket um and it looks like you got was it four nozzles each with two sprayers,
That's right.
and and is that the version that it can actually rain, or is it just mist?
It's just mist.
It's just
In
mist.
fact, if there was a rain version, I didn't see it.
Okay, maybe they don't do that anymore.
I
Um,
would I would hesitate to get a rain version anyway because of the accumulation of water on the bottom of the tent. Because with the mist, everything gets coated, and the longer you have it running, things start to drip and that kind of stuff. But the way I've got it right now, so what I've settled on right now is it clicks on right after sunrise, like 5:45 in the morning, and it sprays for 5 minutes, and everything gets pretty good and soaked, at least on the surface, and then it kicks off, and then it's got 24 hours to dry. And so I'm watching right now to see how much water from day to day stays in the bottom of the tent. And there are some puddles that don't evaporate overnight. So those puddles, you kind of have to think, okay, 3 weeks of this, what will this look like?
is it going to be
Um,
dripping on the folks downstairs?
yeah, ugh, I hope not. So
um,
I did
yeah. So
redo the did redo the bottom of the tent, the lining and everything to, hopefully 3 layers of vinyl or plastic down there to try to keep anything from leaking out. So
that's interesting. It's sort of a backup system, but are you going to keep it? I mean, obviously you're testing it now. Or are you going to keep it kind of in? So let's say when you get back from wherever you're going, you're not going to go on vacation for a little while. Are you going to keep it kind of in in the queue, I guess? Is it going to continue watering, or will you go back to hand watering?
I'd like to keep it going the way that it is, because some plants, it seems to be really all they need. Other plants need more water. So right now, just leaving it alone, everything for the most part is a little bit dry. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a little too dry, especially the Cattleyas. I tend to overwater them anyway. So make them a little thirsty, that is fine. Other plants that, like the catasetums, for example, the mist doesn't really penetrate the medium. So those, I think it's going to be a combination of the automated system plus some extra hand watering here and there. But it'll be interesting to see if the consistency of the automated system will prevent me from overwatering the water sensitive plants like my Cattleya rexus, for example. So
and then you'll have Joe come in and maybe hit the ones where the sphagnum isn't getting soaked through, or
now my plant sitter is not Joe, but the plant sitter will hopefully, they're going to just make sure that nothing is going terribly wrong. I think the plants can handle 3 weeks of daily misting. I think they'll be fine, and if plant sitter wants to spot water some stuff that they think looks dry, that's fine, but they don't have to, it's basically just keep the reservoir full, and that'll be good. And the reservoir, I think, it'll probably last 4 to 5 days, maybe longer. So if somebody only has to come check on it once a week, that's great.
Is it tap water, or you got 5-gallon drums of pure water, or what?
I'm just using tap.
Okay.
Yeah.
And any fertilizer?
I did mix K-Lite in there at the 1/4 teaspoon per gallon concentration. And I've heard that sometimes fertilizer, the nitrogen escapes if you mix it up in water. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I haven't heard of that, but I do remember having to clean the nozzles every now and then to get the sort of salts that build up off. And, you look in one day and it's just like this little stream coming out of 2 sides, and like, what's going on? And it's just all this crusty stuff. Yeah,
I've been told that if I maybe soak them in vinegar or something, I can clean them off. Or did you clean them off on was it a surface thing you could do, or did you actually have to force something through it? Or
no, I think I soaked them in vinegar to get that off. Just overnight or something.
So we'll see how long it takes for that to happen.
No, it's exciting to do like sort of a big like collection change. I mean, you've sent those plants to the greenhouse, so those little seedlings are being taken care of, which is nice. And then you got this going on, so it just seems like you're hopefully freeing yourself up, freeing up some time, and making life easier.
And hopefully introducing consistency, because I think these plants really need that. And I'm not consistent. I'm not as consistent as a timer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I do have a habit of just grabbing the sprayer whenever I open the tent, and I'm just looking for something I can water. Oh yeah, you need some. I'm just hungry to do it. So
you look slightly dry. I'm going to spray you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know I watered you this morning, but I don't see any drops on you anymore. So you need some more. That kind of stuff. So meanwhile, the bottom of the pot's like rotting, and I'm not paying attention to that. So
that's funny.
So we'll see.
Cool. Well, it looks like you have some props there, some show and tell, perhaps.
Yes, indeed. So I wanted to show you something that's going well and something that's not going well for me, so you can kind of help me out. So what's going well, I got this little Vanda falcata from Windy Hill Orchids back in 2015 as a little seedling. And this past Saturday, it got an award of merit, 82 points. And I could not be happier. I absolutely love this thing. And a lot of my
congrats.
A lot of my viewers have divisions of this thing, because I've divided it. I know I've sold off at least 8 divisions of this thing. So actually yesterday I dug up old emails from when I was mailing them out, and I was like, if you're interested in changing the tag, this is the new name of this plant, and it has an award of merit on it. So on Orchid Pro, which is the American Orchid Society's kind of database of awards, there's well over 100 awards for Vanda falcata.
I was going to say, it's not easy to get that awarded anymore.
I know. I was really, really, really excited. They said the size was good. They said the shape was good. They also said one of the big things was that as this plant starts to put on more and more flowers, they tend to just become a big jumbled mess. But they're just really nicely spaced. Mm-hmm. Everything's kind of spaced out. So
well presented.
Yeah, exactly. And, I took it in last year and they kind of passed on it. They were like, well, it's got potential, but it needs some more flowers on it. So this year we came in with 7 flowers per spike and it was enough.
So it looks like those are pretty large flowers. Is that the Amami Island variety then?
I wonder, I don't know anything about the provenance of this. I've got the tag, but it doesn't. Maybe I could call or email Marilyn at Windy Hill and ask her if she knows where it came from, but I don't know anything about the breeding. But I did wonder that because they are pretty good size. And if they have that Amami Island genetics in them, that's even better.
Yeah, that gives the larger flowers, and man, that's nice. So you've gone from Cattleya Rex, where you have the only award, right, in the AOS system. Two. That's right. Two.
More on that later, actually.
Yeah. So incredibly rare awards, and then now you have this plant that's very common, and is highly awarded, and therefore most judges are like, well, we're not going to look at this because it's all been done before.
Right.
So that's 2 like very opposite ends of the spectrum, and both really like something to be really proud of. So that's really cool.
I'm working on my street cred.
Yeah, right. So what would you call it?
Oh, I called it. So you might know I used to live in Japan, and the area of Japan. These of course are a Japanese orchid. So I was like, I've got to give it a Japanese name. So there are 3 sacred mountains in Japan, and the one that was near where I used to work is called Hakusan. So I named it Hakusan, which means cool. White mountain. So it's white, Huh. So it got a Japanese name, and it reminds me of, a good time in my life as well.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wish that's the one thing the internet does not afford yet is smell-o-vision. I mean, I wish I could.
Smell-o-vision. It's been described to me as soapy jasmine.
God.
And the fragrance kicks on just as the sun starts to go down. It's like 4:35. As the sun starts to kind of descend, you start to get a little fragrance, and it lasts well into the early morning. But then it kind of shuts off during the day.
That's cool. Soapy jasmine. It's been a while since I smelled one of those, but yeah, I remember they were intensely fragrant and in a good way.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. It's really nice.
Cool. Well,
and are we going to do 2 goods? Me good, you good? And then
okay. I'll do the good. So this is a division that I got of a Cattleya Blossfeldiana.
Oh, nice.
And let's see.
Oh, your background was trying to blur
it. It is. Maybe if I bring it closer. There's some buds in here. And so this division, as you can see, I guess I haven't blurred my background before. There we go. The division itself is kind of skinny, but it's finally putting on a new root system, and the buds are coming through, and then the new growth is healthy, as you can kind of see here.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so exciting. Blossfeldiana is Rex by luteola. So it's a primary hybrid of Rex that occurs naturally in the wild.
That's right. And so you can see how small it is. If I put it up against me, it doesn't blur out. So it's not a large plant. So it really took after that luteola parent in terms of size. And there are, I can't remember if there's 1 award for this or 0.
0.
Zero.
I can tell you right now, there's no award. So if you're able to take it in, you'll get something, I think.
Let me show you the tag because it's an interesting story that I don't know much about beyond the tag.
Yeah.
So it's Blossfeldiana. I got it from Mick. Mick Fournier.
HBI. Yeah.
HBI, that's right. And he got a certificate of botanical recognition, as you can see up here. He made the division in 2021. But you can see that it says stripped. So he named it Mick, but it was I think what happened is he probably just didn't pay the 40 or 50 bucks to have the award registered, right? So if you get an award, you have to pay, right? And AOS members get a little discount on the amount of money that they pay, but if you don't pay, I get, your award is stripped.
I heard a little different story.
About this one, or just general?
About that stripped award.
Oh, tell me.
I heard that it was, he actually said this to the guy who sold me my Blossfeldiana seedlings, that the award, it was something about his membership, that he didn't renew his membership, or he canceled his membership or something like that. And when I heard that, I was like, that doesn't make sense, because you don't have to be an AOS member to get an award.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I don't know what the real story is, but I don't think they strip awards unless it's, they would go back and find that it wasn't actually a legit,
Maybe it's not a Blossfeldiana, you think?
I mean, I would be surprised. The pictures on his website certainly look like it.
Yeah. So maybe it's some sort of non-payment. But in any case, it got that CBR, and if I show it or I get it judged, and I get an award, since that name Mick was stripped, I could technically rename it whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would. And I don't even know if the different team that would end up looking at this would say, yeah, this is worth the CBR.
I'm just thinking they use Orchid Pro or Orchid Whiz to look up plants and previous awards, nothing's going to come up, right?
I mean, the tag says, I showed you the tag, so they'll kind of get that same background. But yeah, it's kind of a big question mark of what would happen with it. And I don't know. Maybe I'll get one flower, and I'm really curious to see if it's fragrant. If the luteola kind of remove the fragrance, or if it gets that Rex scent that you have described before. And I'll let you know.
I'm going to guess that it'll have a light fragrance at least.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And the fact that it's I've got it in the hottest part of my patio, and so trial by fire, it seems to be doing well in Texas heat. So I think it took after the luteola a little more.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that in bloom.
Yeah. So what you got? What's your less than good?
Yeah, my challenges for this episode are, I've got three Rexes. Two of them are basically kind of runts of the litter. So these are from the original 2014 flask. In the past year, they've had issues where kind of the back rhizome just kind of turned yellow, and then I cut it off, and then the yellow keeps creeping up. And so, I've had these guys for a long time, but I don't think, some of them, like this one, for example, there's brown starting to creep up this bulb, and that I've already cut off half the plant, So I'm just thinking, these aren't long for this world, and maybe they could be saved, but I also acknowledge that sometimes it's just not worth saving the ones that really weren't that good at growing in the first place, considering their siblings have been blooming for 3 or 4 years now, and these, still look small and weak. And they don't seem like they're going to make it. So that's just kind of sad. Some people would throw it in the trash immediately. I have a little harder time doing that, but I don't think that they're going to be around much longer. And
Yeah,
then
you could toss them or give them to someone who thinks that they might have a shot at
I've thought
making it
about
work.
I've thought
Yeah.
about that. I had one that had a little rot on it, and I ended up sending it to Hillbilly Orchids. Paula.
Paula. Yeah.
She has, and she was able to save it. She was able to get rid of the part that was rotting, and so now she had those back bulbs start growing for her. And at last I heard, it was doing really well for her. So I'm glad about that.
Cool.
So yeah, maybe somebody would like to try to save this, but I also hate to just send somebody an actively rotting plant. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess as long as you tell them, like, hey, this plant is not long for this world, as you
Probably
said.
not gonna live, yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
And then the other one, this is a division of that one you were mentioning earlier, the first awarded one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I took this division because it had a growth rot earlier in the spring. Like just as it was starting to bloom, one of the growths just went plop, and it was just brown and mush. So I cut this half of the plant off, and then the back half of the plant, it started having rot creep up the back of it last week. So I cut off everything but like the first 3 bulbs of that one. So I've got, what's potentially a very important plant to my collection, because it's a blooming size Rex and it's got an award. But again, I'm like, is this gonna make it? You know what I mean? Like I'm glad that I have been breeding these like crazy, because at least its genetics are locked into a flask in a lab somewhere, so something will go on. But I might not have these for much longer. I don't know. And then another thing is, I've seen a lot of successful growers growing their plants in their Cattleyas in sphagnum. So I decided to try it out, and what it looks like to me is the roots get down to the surface of the sphagnum and then they just stop. So I'm thinking, all right, how are people getting their Cattleyas to grow in sphagnum if mine don't seem to even want to get into it?
I don't know. I've always wondered that as well. I know a couple of very, very prolific Cattleya growers. Claudia Walworth in Florida, she does it that way. And then Mauro Rosam in Brazil, he grows his Cattleyas in clay pots. Both of them are in clay pots, and maybe that's the difference. Maybe it helps dry out a little faster.
Yeah.
And they're amazing Cattleya growers. And what I don't understand is, sphagnum breaks down in 2 years, and if you repot your Cattleyas every 2 years, their roots are toast. So I don't know if they just pick them out, like to pick the bad pieces out and then and then all of the Walkeriana and Nobilior growers in Japan grow in little clay pots with sphagnum. And
that's funny.
You don't want to mess with those roots, and yet they have amazing flowers.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering if I'm keeping it too wet. I mean, that's often my problem. So I'm thinking, do you keep it bone dry and then just soak it and then wait till it's just bone dry again?
Or you just make a sphagnum layer this thick.
Yeah, I've seen it very thin.
Yeah, and then it dries out.
Yeah. So
but all the pots that I've seen from Claudia, Mauro, and the Japanese growers, I mean, it's a full pot, and there's sphagnum, and so I don't know if there's rocks underneath, or there's a magic formula, and I don't know what it is.
Okay, then we need to put that on our list of things to find out.
Yeah. So I guess that's my cue for what's not going well. And so my patio where I'm growing my orchids, there's some very bright spots, and then there's a spot so my apartment faces southeast, which you'd think would be great, but the sun this time of year comes over so quickly that it sort of skips this corner and then just goes past the apartment. So I'm not getting a good light in one of my sections, and too bad, so sad, Cattleya, is that you're going to have to deal with it. And it's causing some interesting things. I'm going to unblur this, and you guys are all going to see my children artwork behind me. There we go. So now, ta-da.
Oh, that's nice.
But I want to show you two plants who are probably suffering light deficiency. And this is a first bloom purpurata. I got this from Floralia at some point, and it's sanguinea. And you can see, so even for a first bloom, these are wonky flowers. So what happened is this one was getting good, typical light as it should get for, up until, I don't know, mid-May or early May or something. And then the sort of light shut off. So it was able to bloom, but the blooms weren't great. So it didn't continue getting that energy to get bloom. So if I kept this in these conditions, it just wouldn't bloom anymore. It would probably continue to grow, but it wouldn't bloom anymore. So I'm hoping to get this in the sunshine here within less than a year, so that it grows. And I have another purpurata, and this is like my sort of prize purpurata that I got from Sergio Garcia some years ago, and it's Carnea. And what's happened is these formerly gigantic bulbs, you can see, they were huge.
They're like potatoes.
They're still okay. And it's still putting out new growths. Actually, I cut this growth off. So this new growth I'm going to yank this division out and probably sell it. And it's got two new growths coming. But, the lack of light means that it's not getting light is plant food, right? And so if it's not getting enough food, it's not able to make those bulbs big and fat the way they should be, because it's getting plenty of water. But it just kind of shows you what can happen under too dark conditions. The leaves get darker. You're not going to get like big fat pseudobulbs, and the pseudobulbs aren't. They're not just water. It's sugars, really. It's energy reserves for the plant. In fact, if you were to snap those bulbs in half and smell them, they would be probably kind of pungent, because it is this sort of sugar mixture. It's not just water, so it can't make enough sugar to sort of divert those reserves to those big fat bulbs that it can draw on, if it gets unideal conditions. So those are kind of two interesting negative effects from not enough light. So for anyone listening, if your plants, the Cattleyas, aren't getting enough light, the bulbs aren't going to be big enough, the leaves are going to be dark, and you're probably not going to get flowers. Or if you do get flowers, they're not going to be up to their full potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that shriveled bulbs could be a symptom of low light.
Yeah, and so what would happen is if they stayed under these conditions, this large one, the subsequent bulbs would just get smaller and smaller. So it would continue to live. They just wouldn't be as big.
Yeah,
it probably wouldn't bloom.
In the wild, it would just kind of keep on keeping on until it found a patch of light, and then it could actually take off again.
Exactly. Yeah, and it wouldn't expend that energy to reproduce, to make flowers. So cool. That's what's going on. One good. I guess I can show this now that I don't have the background on.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
I don't know if you can see the buds.
Did it put that growth on this spring?
It did, yeah.
Oh, nice.
So it basically had no roots. It had like a few. So I've gotten the cypress mulch. I know the cypress mulch holds a little extra moisture compared to the orchiata. Mm-hmm. And I figured that would be good to get it kickstarted. And luteola and Rex like a little wetter conditions, I think, than the purpuratas and my other standard Cattleyas that just get bombed with heat and sun and dry off pretty quickly.
Cool. Well, I don't think Blossfeldiana by Rex has ever been done, so we could maybe think about a pollen exchange.
Yeah, that is a great idea. I am totally down for that.
Miniature. It'd probably look more like Rex, but just a smaller plant, maybe.
I think that's probably, yeah, exactly. Crossing it back would shrink the plant and would still have that sort of Rex look to it.
Mm-hmm. And just be a
Which
little
could be
easier
cool.
to grow to the hybrid, hybrid vigor.
Yeah. Hybrid vigor is real.
Cool. Well, as always, a pleasure chatting with you, Stephen.
It was good to chat with you, and glad to see that you got yet another award, and wish I could smell it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, living near a judging center is definitely has its advantages.
For sure. Very cool.
Cool. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time.
And have fun on your trip.
Thanks. All right. Bye,
See ya.
everyone.